7 years ago, I wanted to make a video game. This is the story of how I went from a not even beginner music producer. I was too paralyzed to even begin. I couldn't even fathom that I could make my own music. And now I'm a confident composer. I've made dozens of tracks, one of which you're listening to right now, and it's not too bad if I say so myself. When I was in community college in 2018, I was thinking about making a game in RPG Maker. I wasn't passionate about RPG games, but I was passionate about video games because I really enjoyed them, and I really found myself captivated by 2 or 3 amazing stories. I mean, a lot more than that, but in my script I've played a lot of video games, you get it, right? I wanted to make that sort of impact, the kind of impact that games like Tales of Symphonia and Batten Kaitos Origins had made on me. And to be honest, creating wasn't a new thing for me. When I was in middle school, I would make levels in an unofficial Mario game called Super Mario Bros. X, and I would also write stories in Word documents. I also did this weird so this isn't in my script, but I also did this really weird thing where I would like a girl and then I would write a dumb story in a flash drive and then give it to her. But I never finished anything. Out of dozens of creative endeavors, not a single result to my name. I've started tons of different stories. I had this generic fantasy one, but I would just keep jumping shift and I didn't finish anything. So anyways, fast forward back to community college, I was making my fantasy RPG Maker game. I was thinking about the plot, writing the dialogue. It was gonna be this kind of interesting thing where it's the god of time is decaying and time is decaying, and then it's the next god of time can live forever or whatever, and there's this guy who betrays you because he wants to live forever. So I was making a RPG Maker game, and the way it works is that you have these tiles that you can select, these characters you can customize, and these default sounds, music, and sound effects. So it's a really easy way to get started, and that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, if it weren't for RPG Maker, would I have taken action in the first place? I was someone who would consistently quit projects I was already doing because to keep doing the same thing I was already doing was too difficult. If the only way to make games was to draw it all yourself, code it all yourself, make all the sounds yourself, would I have ever tried? But the default assets are default assets. Everyone who uses the program has the same default assets, and that means unless you create your own assets, your project will appear almost identical to other people's projects. I could kinda cope with the visual stuff and the simplistic events that you could put in. I could say, well, I love my favorite games because of the story, so the looks don't matter. But what's really interesting is, I couldn't say that about the music. There were about 12 tracks in the game by default, and as a kid, I was a band kid, I was a gamer, I would procrastinate on my homework by thinking and talking about why my favorite games made me feel the way I did, and for whatever reason, I'd always have something to say about the music of the game. As someone who's so thoughtful about that kind of thing, 12 tracks just wasn't enough. Even through my thick skull and my coping and self-doubt, I understood that. So, what did I do next? I looked online, free music to use in my game, yay! I grabbed a bunch of MP3s like a baby in a candy shop, ooh, suspenseful, ooh, mystical. I felt so proud of putting someone else's music into a little folder inside of my game to use someday when I get to it. I felt so proud at just that I even showed off to one of my friends. I said, look, here's what they have for the default tracks and here's what I found online. And he kind of sat there really unmoved, and he kind of looked like he was thinking, that's it? Why does it matter? You're going from something you didn't make to another thing you didn't make, and you're proud of that? And it kind of hit me. I'm not using this music as a collaboration or a test to see what works. I was just holding onto it like a crutch because I wanted to feel good without putting in the effort. Music is something that's made with soul. Without soul, there is no music. It's not something you can take from one place and just slap in another. I say that, but I kind of have to reconcile that with the fact that I'm trying to sell music packs and stuff, but I'll figure it out later. So then I realized that, and it made me kind of depressed about the project. And I thought about these feelings a lot. I started learning how to draw, how to do pixel art, so I can make my own aesthetics. One day, I was on the road at night. I can't remember where I was going, if I was driving, or who was with me, but I had a phone conversation. It was with that same friend I mentioned before. I was talking about my game. I said, I'm making some progress and I'm learning how to draw so I can make character portraits. I've been writing for practice so I can make a better story, but I don't know what to do about the music. It's like nothing that I search for on the internet will ever really be good enough. There's just nothing that'll fit my game. And he said something that hadn't even crossed my mind. Something incredibly obvious. Why don't you make your own music? I said, I can't. And he said, you never know until you try. And I didn't have any rebuttal. So I went home and I composed a battle theme on Noteflight. I downloaded the free trial of Reason and I imported it in. And I liked Reason, so I bought it and I made more music. I didn't finish that game I was working on in RPG Maker. I didn't even finish making the first quest. But since then, I've finished dozens of pieces of music. I've watched tips and tricks on YouTube, I've analyzed my favorite video game soundtracks, imitated songs that I love just to learn more. And over the years, I've become a totally different composer. Confident, capable, and ambitious. But I wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for that one conversation. If it weren't for my friend Thomas. I want this video to be that conversation for you. If you love music, if you have ever had the thought, I wish I could make my own music, give it a try, make some music, and I'll tell you exactly how to get started. Go on Google and type FL Studio free trial and download the trial version, or just buy it if you have the money. Go on YouTube and type how to use FL Studio, click the video by In The Mix. He's a very practical teacher. It's the exact same tutorial I watched when I was first getting to FL Studio, and he'll teach you kind of how to navigate inside of FL Studio. It's kind of like how you can teach someone how to drive, but then if you put them in Japan and they can't read the road signs, then they're not gonna, they're gonna piss someone off by making a left turn where they shouldn't. So this guy, he'll teach you how to navigate FL Studio so that you can let your creativity do its thing. But yeah, open FL Studio while watching his video, play around with it at the same time. I think that's a really active and practical way to just get a feel for it, because all you're doing is getting a feel for it. You're just getting familiar with it so that you know which buttons to click and all that. Once you've watched his tutorial, once you've followed along, all that's going to be left for you is to exercise your creativity. You're not going to be alone in this journey, by the way. This video is going to be an important conversation for both of us. Because to be honest, I've kind of lost my way in music as well. Your part will be to get whatever DAW, digital audio workspace, you want to get your hands on. If you don't know, literally just go FL Studio free trial. Trust me. There's not a lot of potential for regret there. My part is to make a promise. And my promise to you is that 7 days from now, I'll upload a short mix. So it'll be one video, but it'll be like a mix. Probably around 10 minutes of music made in the style of some of my favorite video games. There'll be 3 tracks, and for each one, I'll tell you which composer's style I base it off of and the video game they composed for. And if you're feeling up for a challenge, I've got one for you. Make some music, finish your first track. It doesn't matter how long it is. Watch tutorials if you need it. Do your best, just finish your first track. Then, take a screen recording of it, or however you want to record it, upload it on your own YouTube channel and @ me. There's a way you can tag other creators in your uploads. Tag me in your video and I'll come watch it and tell you how much of an amazing job you've done. And if you want, I'll also give you some feedback and tell you what you need to do next to improve. I may not be the best, but I can help you get to my level at least. So to recap how you can get started, go on Google and type FL Studio free trial. You'll see a download on www.imageline.com. That's the company that makes FL Studio. Download the free trial, open FL Studio, and put on In The Mix's video on how to use FL Studio for beginners and start creating. If you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll help you out. For those of you who are more experienced, share your own stories on how you get started and how producing music has changed your life. These kinds of perspectives and discussions are so important, more important than I think, we often really think about. If I hadn't had that one conversation with my friend Thomas all those years ago, I wouldn't have had the chance to experience any of the dozens of tracks I've created. I mean, I love listening to my own music. It's narcissistic, except it's not, because they're actually goated, except me saying that is kind of narcissistic. But anyways, and my friends and family wouldn't have had the chance to see me grow into such a creative and positive person, and they wouldn't have had the chance to listen. But anyways, I feel grateful to know people who care about me and engage with the things that I find meaningful, and that's why I hope to one day turn this YouTube channel into a place where creative people can find meaning and community and friendship and spread powerful ideas. Music has a lot of power. There's a lot of people out there doing things that we can't even imagine. If you feel the same way, then I hope to see you in the comments. Bye bye.